All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jhon Santos, and today I'll be talking about the 14 legal duties of a coach. As an athletic director, it's my duty to, make sure every single coach from every sport knows these 14 legal duties before starting anything with the team. So, several obligations or duties have been identified as absolute requirements for coaches and athletic program administrators. These standards have the weight of moral obligation for coaches and athletic administrators and have evolved as a result of various case law proceedings and legal judgments against individuals and school districts. The number one duty plan, a coach must demonstrate awareness of the maturity, physical development, and readiness of athletes with appropriate plan for instruction, conditioning, and supervision. They must have a year plan, keep it and follow it. Once you start a year plan, it's best for the coach to follow that plan and not change it throughout the course. Coaches must prevent or reduce injury and loss by developing responsive strategies, and such as coaching competence, medical screening, appropriate activities that consider age, maturity, and environmental conditions injury response. Also, warning to athletes and their families, including athletes' insurance, which is a very important part that you must discuss with the family. Lastly, for number one, plans should become policy documents and updated regularly by administrators, coaches, and experts in the specific areas. For the second duty, duty to supervise, a coach must be physically present at all times. Provide supervision and control of impulsive behavior. Coaches must structure practices that are appropriate for the age and maturity of the players in the team. They also should prevent forcible injuries and respond to injury or trauma in an approved manner. The coach's duty requires supervisors to ensure that facilities are locked and that students are denied access when a competent staff member cannot be physically present or supervise the facility. It's pretty risky, to leave athletes alone at the facility, knowing all the equipments are laying around without supervision. Lastly, a coach must also supervise the condition, safe usage, maintenance, and upkeep of equipment and facilities. Types of supervisory duties. A specific supervision of student athletes while engaged in athletic activity itself, like practice, competition, or other activities directly related to sports participation. General supervision means supervision of student athletes for a reasonable period before and after the athletics activity, and supervision of sports environments at times outside of their use for athletic activities. Number three, duty to assist. Athletic administrators and coaches are required to access the health and physically or maturational readiness, skills, and physical condition of athletes. A progression of skill development and condition improvement should be apparent for practice plans. Also, athletes must also be medically screened in accordance with state association regulations before participating in practice or any competition. Lastly, injured athletes who require the services of a physician might not return to practice or competition without written permission of the physician. Number four, duty to maintain safe playing conditions. Here, coaches are considered trained professionals who possess a higher level of knowledge and skill that permits them to identify causes of injury and defective equipment and hazardous environments. Usually coaches are CPR trained. They have all this certification, which is a requirement in most schools, so they can have the knowledge and the skills to take care of whatever's going on in the field. Moving on, weather conditions must be considered. An athlete should not be subjected to intense or prolonged conditioning during periods of extreme heat and humidity. A plan for monitoring and responding to dangerous weather conditions is necessary. Lastly, building codes and laws must be observed and implemented with respect to capacity, ventilation, air filtration, and lighting. Number five, the duty to provide proper equipment. Coaches must ensure that athletes are properly equipped with clean, durable, and safe equipment. It's important, that coaches make sure that every athlete has the right equipment from top to bottom, which they're made to prevent injuries and protect the athletes for any incidents. Second, protective equipment must carry a NOCSAE, which is the National Operating Commissioner Safety and Athletic Equipment certification, and must be checked for proper fit and wearing. Lastly, athletes must wear protective equipment anytime they're exposed to full risk of contact in practice or competition. Number six, duty to instruct properly. Athletics practice must be characterized by instruction that accounts for a logical sequence of fundamentals that consider the development level of the athlete and that lead to an enhanced progression of player knowledge, skill, and capability. In this regard, instruction must move from simple to complex and from known to unknown. Also, instructor coaches must be properly prepared to provide appropriate and sequential instruction and to identify and avoid dangerous practices or conditions. Lastly, instruction must demonstrate appropriate and safe techniques and must include warning about unsafe techniques and prohibited practices. Number seven, the duty to match athletes. Here, athletes in practices should be matched with consideration for maturity, skill, age, size, and speed in all sports. To the degree possible, mismatches should be avoided in all categories. Number eight, duty to condition properly. Practices must account for a progression of cardiovascular and musculoskeletal conditioning regimens that prepare athletes sequentially for more challenging practices and competitive activities. Consideration must be given to student, maturational, and readiness factors. Lastly, in addition, consideration should include weather conditions and their impact on student health. Number nine, duty to warn. Coaches are required to warn parents and athletes of unsafe practices specific to the sport and the potential for injury of death, such as those contact sports like football, basketball, baseball. In most districts, a generic warning signed by both athletes and parents is included in the physical packet, but sport specific warnings should be included at the parents' meetings for specific sports. Videotapes of safety instruction and warnings to players and parents are recommended. Number 10, the duty to ensure athletes are covered by injury insurance. Athletic administrators and coaches must screen athletes to ensure that family and or school insurance provides a basic level of medical coverage. Usually, most schools do this. I know in college they do. Athletes should not be allowed to participate without injury insurance. A deductible and co-payment requirement should be clearly explained to parents and athletes before the upcoming season or upcoming off season. Certain schools might need to publish this information in several languages due to international athletes. I know I was an international athlete at some point, and that was a great help. Lastly, comprehension should be required of parents and athletes. Number 11, duty to provide emergency care. Coaches are expected to be able to administer accepted, prioritize, standard first aid procedures in response to a range of traumatic injuries. especially that are potentially life threatening. All athletics personnel must be trained, certified in first aid, CPR, and other sport specific medical issues. They must be able to provide the necessary assistance to injured student athletes. Number 12, duty to develop an emergency response plan. Athletic administrators and coaches must develop site-specific plans for managing uninjured team members while emergency care is being administered to an injured athlete. Also, plans must be in place to ensure access to a telephone, a stock first aid kit, spine board, and other emergency response equipment. Usually, every sport has this in their athletic training room. The plan should also account for a timely call to EMS and a expedited access by EMS to the injured athlete by stationing coaches or team members at driveways, parking lots, entry doors, and remote hallways. Number 13, the duty to provide proper transportation. Provided transportation should be utilized as much as possible for travel to athletic events. Coaches must ensure that all athletes are on the bus before it departs from an away contest. Coaches must have a roster with emergency contact information in the event of any accident that can happen during the trip on the road. Self or family transportation for local competition might be allowed if parents have the right insurance coverage for team members other than their family members. And lastly, athletes should be prohibited from driving to an out of town competition, scrimmage, or practices. Number 14, the last one, the duty to select, train, and supervise coaches. Athletic administrators will be expected to ensure coaches are capable of providing safe conditions and activities as outlined in the preceding list of 13 duties. Reasonable care in the selection and training of all athletics personnel, coaches like coaches, non-teacher coaches, volunteer coaches, student teacher coaches, athletic trainer coaches, and so it's a threefold duty necessary for the fulfillment of other duties, such as supervision, technique instruction, warnings, medical assistance, safe playing environment, and so forth. These are the 14 legal duties for a coach. My name is Jhon Santos, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.